Welcome to Suburban Betty. Today I am doing garden tours in Franschoek for their open garden, I don't know what you'd call it, festival maybe. We've so far done one site that I can't pronounce, it's in French. When I listen back to the guy who says welcome, I'll pronounce it later in the description. But yeah, I hope that you enjoy. We're gonna hit up as many as we can stand before we need a drink, and we'll see you shortly. So this garden was really beautiful. It's really focused around the production of food, and the owners have done a really clever sort of orchard vegetable patch mix. So you can see here pear trees in an orchard layout, and they're actually interplanted with vegetable beds, which was amazing. There were also animals, so there were some alpacas and some bunnies and the cutest doggo by the pool. I think you can see him there. I also really love how the owner has used a lot of natural indigenous grasses. Oh, I love that. It's a bug hotel. You see? I was keen to do that, but knowing me, like wasps would probably move in.
Yeah. Killer wasps.
Like literally, or like, I don't know.
Died after she opened a bug hotel.
Exactly.
And the home invaded her.
Literally.
The home invasion bites.
I really love this idea of like tree beds between trees. It's so clever. Oh, and there's even sweet corn. Love it. Interplanted with some garlic. This is like a dream garden.
Yeah, it's huge, eh?
So that's a really beautiful idea. Two buildings connected by a sort of metal lattice, and then growing a vine across it. I think one of the biggest takeaways about this garden for me was just how the owner had really interplanted. So, you know, we've seen the orchards that have vegetable beds between them, but now when you go into this sort of vineyard area, you can also see that there is quite a few interplantings between the rows in the vineyard. And I just think that's so nice. It obviously is great for wildlife and for bees. So such a nice idea. Doesn't follow where I point. Look at the chicken. Oh, it's so cute. It's plump. This was also such a nice experience because of the chickens that they had at this house. I absolutely love chickens. I think they are just the cutest things ever, and they were roaming pretty much everywhere. And you could see it in the garden because a lot of the greens had been eaten, but it was just so cute and so special to see all of these chickens hanging out, and they were lovely and plump and just so adorable. You're so sweet. Oh. So this is my favorite view, and there were lots of beautiful views on this day, but just looking up to see the sun through this canopy of trees was really stunning. This garden was so special. It's a smaller garden, but the owners have been really intentional about the layout and all of the design characteristics. I thoroughly enjoyed going around here, and I think you'll see why. So that wall there, that blue wall, is like exactly what I want to do in my garden. I've got like a double height wall in my back garden, and I want to do it that color, but then I want to grow a granadilla on it, like on a white trellis. I think it's going to look so pretty. So the specific design element I really loved about this garden was, one, the mix of indigenous plants and what you would suppose call an English garden, but also the use of this really vivid blue color against different shades of green. That is really something I want to use in my garden. So I just adored sort of the layout and the use of color here. It's not amazing. Oh. So you can see here that you have succulents mixed with roses. There are also beautiful sweet peas in this garden, which I am so jealous of. I wish I could grow them like this. But it's that really nice sort of mix of a more traditional English, I suppose, style garden with a beautiful South African Indigenous garden. So garden number 3 was really just a front garden, but it was absolutely stunning. And you can see in the background and here where I've sort of zoomed in, the hydrangeas were amazing. They were this vivid chartreuse color. They were iceberg roses, beautiful pansies. I really enjoyed this garden, even though it was quite small and it was quite quick to go through, but it was very sort of like Victorian inspired, beautiful sort of English garden. Probably not easy for the water bill, but so stunning. So this garden was a big change of pace from what we'd seen previously, and it took Indigenous to a whole new level. So whereas the first garden had a lot of Indigenous grasses, this garden was just full of Indigenous plants. Indigenous grasses, succulents, everything I think was pretty much Indigenous, although, I mean, I couldn't say for certain, but it was certainly an inspiration in, you know, using local vegetation or local flora. I did enjoy it. I do think that I like sort of more greenery and not so many silvers and not so many sort of dry looking grasses, but I do think that it was an inspiration in a lot of ways, and the view was spectacular. So no matter where you were in the garden, you could turn 360 and it was just an incredible view. It's like some kind of fire aloe almost. So one really nice thing about this garden was also the color. There were great pops of color throughout, but also the structure. So the path that led you through the garden kind of took you on this journey between different art pieces. And, you know, there was a maze and a labyrinth. I thought that was really clever, sort of creating structure and these little bursts of color throughout. It was really lovely that this garden also had water in it, which is obviously great for wildlife, but it's also just another element of the garden. And then, what is this plant? If you know, please comment below. Oh, there's some stunning things in here. How amazing.
I love desert roses. Banner's got a whole bunch of them outside.
And how beautiful are them all flowering.
It's actually stunning. I love what they've done here.
So things I would take away from this garden, like find some of the more like beautiful pelargoniums, which is like geraniums basically, and driftwood can actually look quite nice.
I quite like, I mean, I was just thinking now, because obviously I've got my house and I've got quite a big back garden, but I've never done anything with it. I'm not there. I just spend money on it when I'm not living there.
Absolutely.
But if I were to live there, I really love what I've seen here in terms of having desert. I can just imagine like this full of desert roses, like a big cacti in the middle, like quite a dry faint bush garden.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is. And that lovely like orange aloe, that was beautiful. Let's go. This is very pretty.
Yeah. It's like a desert rose on.
It's beautiful. Wow, this is beautiful. I think this might be one of my favorites so far. Just walking on. Okay, let's go.
I need a red dessert.
A dessert rose. Nom nom nom. I so enjoyed this garden. I think it just had such a nice mix of indigenous plants, but it wasn't leaning too heavily on the grass side, so it didn't look dry. It still looked quite lush, and it had really interesting indigenous plants. You know, this for example. So it was just really appealing. It didn't look like a desert, although it was leaning very heavily onto succulents. And it wasn't overly sort of silver or brown, which I liked as well. And then it also had this beautiful vegetable garden that was just really abundant, and had a ton of beautiful green veg in it. And I love the sort of juxtaposition of a drier but not too dry looking succulent garden with quite a fresh and beautiful and ordered vegetable garden. I thought that was just so beautiful.
Also, these cacti gardens are growing a little.
Absolutely, this is stunning. I mean, how beautiful are these? And this tree is also beautiful. Looks like coral almost. So pretty. And these are just humongous. I mean, look at that piece of rose quartz.
Sure.
That is a large crystal. And this is, like, I've never seen a strelitzia this big. That's not on Instagram. Should we go to the champagne vibe next?
She should have just gone red, huh?
So this property had quite a small formal garden, and it was mainly roses, although obviously there were other plants too, but it was really beautiful. I do love roses, and they had a multitude of varieties, different colors, and it smelled amazing. Like walking up onto this sort of terrace area, the smell was amazing, and as you can see, the view was also pretty intense as well. So for me, the most special thing about this garden visit was the vegetable garden. There were butterflies flying around, everything was really well maintained, just beautiful green colors. There were all kinds of veg, and they were all really healthy. It was all in all just such an inspiring garden for someone who grows veg themselves. My garden obviously isn't this big, but it was definitely a source of inspiration for me. Oh, it's beautiful. It is, and it's very well maintained. It's beautiful. It's a stunning, stunning veg garden. So that was all we had time for. It was off to have champagne after that. If you enjoyed this garden tour and you enjoyed coming along with us, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.